In a peaceful valley, wrapped in rolling lavender hills and glowing morning mist, there stood a kingdom called Lemuria. It was not the biggest kingdom, nor the richest, but it was known far and wide for its warmth. People smiled easily there. Windows were always open. Even the wind seemed to move gently, as if it did not want to disturb anyone's happiness. Travelers often said that the air of Lemuria felt kinder than anywhere else, as though the land itself understood human hearts. On a spring morning filled with birdsong and drifting flower petals, a baby princess was born in the Crystal Palace at the heart of the kingdom. Sunlight poured through tall windows, scattering rainbows across the marble floors. The palace bells rang softly, not loudly, because even the bells of Lemuria had gentle manners. The king and queen named their daughter Eloan, a name that meant light, that comforts. From the moment she opened her eyes, something felt different about her. She did not cry loudly like other babies. Instead, she gazed around with wide, curious eyes, as if she were quietly listening to the world speak to her. As Eloan grew, the people of Lemuria noticed something special. She laughed easily, but never at others. Her laughter sounded like small wind chimes dancing together. When someone was sad, even as a small child, she would sit beside them without saying a word, her feet swinging gently, her eyes full of care. Somehow, that was enough. Animals followed her through the gardens as if she belonged to them. Birds perched close without fear. Butterflies rested on her sleeves, opening and closing their wings slowly, as though sharing secrets with her. It was said that even broken toys seemed happier after she touched them, as if her kindness stitched invisible cracks back together. The palace staff adored her. Bakers slipped her warm rolls shaped like stars. Gardeners let her help water flowers, even when she spilled more water on herself than on the plants. Eloan thanked everyone, even the quietest workers, with a sincerity that made people feel seen. She had a way of making ordinary moments feel important. But happiness, like sunlight, sometimes casts long shadows. On the night of Eloan's 5th birthday, the palace held a small celebration beneath the open sky. Lanterns floated upward like glowing stars learning to fly, their reflections dancing in the palace fountains. Music drifted through the gardens, playful and light, and the scent of honey cakes and sugared fruit filled the air. Children chased one another between the trees, their laughter ringing like silver bells. At the edge of the garden, half hidden behind a willow tree, stood an old figure. She wore a faded cloak, the color of ash and time, frayed at the edges, as if it had walked many lonely roads. Few noticed her, and those who did felt a sudden chill and quickly looked away, sure why their hearts felt uneasy. This was Morwenna, a sorceress once welcomed and honored in Lemuria. Long ago, she had helped protect the kingdom with her wisdom, guiding lost travelers and calming storms. But years passed. New generations forgot old stories. Visits grew rare. Gratitude faded into silence. Alone in her forest home, Morwenna felt the slow ache of being forgotten. Loneliness hardened her heart, not into cruelty, but into something tired and heavy. Like stone worn down by endless rain, as the final lantern rose into the night sky, Morwenna stepped forward. She lifted her staff, which shimmered faintly under the moonlight. Her voice when she spoke trembled with sorrow rather than anger. It was soft, but magic carries far. When the child learns the true weight of the world, she said, sleep shall claim her, and time shall wait. The music faltered. A hush fell over the garden. Then Morwenna vanished, leaving behind only a swirl of silver. Dust that sparkled briefly before fading into nothing. Fear spread through the palace like a cold breeze. The joy of the celebration dimmed, replaced by whispered worries and anxious glances. The king and queen held Eloan close that night, their smiles brave but trembling. In the days that followed, they searched every ancient book, every wise soul, every hidden spell they could find. Messengers were sent across valleys and seas. Healers arrived with potions. Scholars debated late into the night. But no one could fully undo the curse. Only one spell softened its edge. A kind fairy named Leora, no taller than a teacup and glowing like a gentle candle flame, fluttered into the palace one quiet dawn. Her wings shimmered with soft blues and golds. Her voice was calm and warm. "Alawan will not be taken," Leora promised. "She will sleep. Not forever, but deeply, until something stronger than fate itself reaches her." The words did not erase the fear, but they gave it shape, and that made it easier to carry. The kingdom chose hope over panic. Sharp objects were removed from the palace. Old towers were sealed. Spinning wheels disappeared. Life continued, though laughter grew quieter, more careful, as if everyone was afraid of waking something dark. Yet Lumeria did not lose its kindness. People smiled through worry. They watched over Alawan together. Alawan grew into a young princess with golden brown hair that caught the sunlight, and eyes that reflected the sky just before dusk. She moved with gentle confidence, her presence calming even the busiest rooms. But what made people love her most was not how she looked. It was how she listened. She walked through the market greeting bakers and tailors by name. She remembered small details about people's lives. She helped children fix broken kites, laughing when the wind carried them away again. She sat with elders and asked them about their stories, treating their memories as treasures more valuable than gold. Sometimes, though, Alawan would pause mid-step. A strange heaviness would settle in her chest, like a quiet clock ticking where her heart should be. She would press her hand there and breathe slowly, watching the clouds drift by. She did not understand the feeling, but deep down, she sensed that time was watching her too. One afternoon, while wandering near the edge of the palace gardens, Alawan met a young traveler named Silan. He was not a prince, just the son of a mapmaker, with ink-stained fingers and curious eyes always searching the horizon. He had come to Lumeria to study its unusual roads, which often seemed to curve when no one was looking, as if they preferred mystery over straight lines. A sudden gust of wind scattered his papers across the grass. Alawan helped him gather them, smoothing the creases with careful hands. They spoke only briefly, sharing smiles and small laughter. Before he left, Alawan looked at him with gentle seriousness. "Wherever you go," she said softly, "be kind. The world feels heavy for many people." Silan nodded, unsure why his throat felt tight. He carried her words with him like a quiet promise tucked into his pocket. Time moved forward, as it always does, until one evening when the sky turned the color of old roses and the air felt strangely still. Alawan wandered into a small tower room she had never visited before. The room seemed to hum gently, as if it had been waiting just for her. Dust floated in the sunlight. In the corner stood an old spinning wheel, forgotten and silent, its thread glowing faintly, almost breathing. Alawan felt drawn to it, not out of curiosity, but as if an invisible hand guided her closer. The world seemed to hold its breath the moment her finger brushed the thread. Warmth spread through her body, followed by an overwhelming tiredness. There was no fear, no pain. Just a deep, endless sleep calling her name, soft and certain. She collapsed gently, like a falling leaf. The curse had awakened across the kingdom. People felt it. Birds stopped singing mid-note. Candles flickered and dimmed. The air grew heavy and still. When Alawan was found, sleeping peacefully with a faint smile on her face, the palace filled with quiet sobs. Flowers were placed around her bed. Sunlight was kept warm and steady. She did not wake. Days passed, then weeks. Alawan remained unchanged, her chest rising and falling slowly, as if she were dreaming of another world. The king and queen sat beside her every day, holding her hands, telling her stories she already knew, hoping love alone could reach her. News spread beyond Lumeria. Many came to see the sleeping princess. Some brought cures. Some brought spells. Some brought hope. Others selfish wishes. None succeeded. Among those who returned was Silan. When he saw Alawan lying there, surrounded by flowers and silence, his heart ached. He understood then that this was not a story about magic alone. It was about waiting, about faith, about love that expects nothing in return, so he stayed. And the kingdom waited with him, balanced between sorrow and hope, unaware that the greatest test of destiny had only just begun. In a peaceful valley, wrapped in rolling lavender hills and glowing morning mist, there stood a kingdom called Lumeria. It was not the biggest kingdom, nor the richest, but it was known far and wide for its warmth. People smiled icily there, even at strangers. Doors were often left open, and windows welcomed the breeze. Even the wind seemed polite, slowing down as it passed through the streets, as if it did not want to disturb anyone's happiness. Every morning, sunlight spilled gently over tiled rooftops, and the sound of laughter mixed with the songs of birds. Bakers hummed while kneading dough, children raced paper boats along narrow streams, and elders sat together sharing stories that began with long ago and ended with soft laughter. Lumeria felt like a place where hearts could rest. On one such spring morning, when the air smelled of fresh blossoms and the sky was painted in pale blue, a baby princess was born in the crystal palace at the heart of the kingdom. Light passed through the palace walls and scattered into rainbow colors across the floor. The palace bells rang softly, not loudly, because even the bells of Lumeria had gentle manners. The king and queen named their daughter Eloan, a name that meant light, that comforts. When she first opened her eyes, she did not cry like other newborns. Instead, she looked around quietly, her tiny fingers curling and uncurling, as if she were listening closely to the world welcoming her from that very day. People whispered that there was something special about her. As Eloan grew, that feeling only became stronger. She laughed easily, but never at others. Her laughter sounded warm, like sunlight bouncing off water. When someone felt sad, even when she was very young, Eloan would sit beside them without saying anything. She would simply stay, her presence calm and steady, and somehow that made things feel better. Animals adored her. Cats followed her steps through the palace gardens. Birds perched fearlessly on nearby branches when she passed. Butterflies rested on her sleeves as if they trusted her completely. Even broken toys seemed happier after she held them, as if her kindness stitched invisible cracks back together. The palace workers loved her deeply. Gardeners showed her how to talk to flowers. Cooks sneaked her sweet buns shaped like stars. Guards smiled whenever she waved at them, even during long and boring shifts. Eloan remembered names, faces, and small details, making everyone feel important. But happiness, like sunlight, sometimes casts long shadows. On the night of Eloan's 5th birthday, the palace held a small celebration in the gardens. Lanterns floated into the sky like glowing fireflies learning to fly. Music drifted softly through the air. The smell of honey cakes made everyone feel hungry even after eating too much. Children danced barefoot on the grass. Elders clapped along, smiling with watery eyes. It felt like one of those moments people would remember years later and say, "That was a good night." At the edge of the garden stood an old figure, barely noticed. She wore a faded cloak, the color of ash and time, its edges worn thin. Those who happened to glance her way felt a strange chill and quickly looked away, sure why their hearts suddenly felt heavy. Her name was Morwenna. Long ago, Morwenna had protected Lumeria with her wisdom. She healed sick crops, guided lost travelers, and calmed storms with quiet spells. But as years passed, people forgot. Visits became rare. Thank yous stopped coming. Her forest home grew silent. Loneliness slowly wrapped around her heart, hardening it not with anger, but with deep sorrow. As the final lantern rose into the dark sky, Morwenna stepped forward. She lifted her staff, which shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Her voice when she spoke was low and trembling, filled more with pain than cruelty. When the child learns the true weight of the world, she said softly, "Sleep shall claim her, and time shall wait." Before anyone could speak, she vanished, leaving behind only a swirl of silver dust that sparkled briefly before fading away. The music stopped. Laughter faded. Fear slipped quietly into the celebration. The king and queen searched desperately for answers. Wise scholars arrived with heavy books. Healers mixed potions late into the night. Messengers rode far and wide, but no one could fully remove the curse. Only one being softened it. A tiny fairy named Liara appeared one quiet morning. glowing gently like a candle flame. Her wings shimmered in soft gold and blue, and her voice felt warm and steady. "Alawan will not be harmed," Leora promised. "She will sleep, not forever, but deeply, until something stronger than fate itself reaches her." The words did not erase fear, but they gave hope something to hold on to. The kingdom chose calm over panic. Dangerous objects were removed. Old towers were sealed. Life continued, though laughter became quieter and more careful. People watched over Alawan together, believing love itself was a kind of protection. Alawan grew into a young princess with golden brown hair that caught sunlight and eyes that reflected the sky just before dusk. Yet it was not her appearance that made people admire her. It was her heart. She walked through the market greeting everyone by name. She helped children fix broken kites, laughing when the wind stole them again. She listened patiently to elders telling the same stories again and again, never once acting bored. She believed every story mattered. Sometimes, though, Alawan felt a strange heaviness in her chest, like a quiet clock ticking where her heart should be. She would pause and breathe slowly, staring at the clouds, feeling that time itself was watching her. One afternoon, near the edge of the gardens, she met a young traveler named Seelan. He was the son of a mapmaker, with ink-stained fingers and curious eyes. His papers scattered when the wind suddenly changed its mind. Alawan helped him gather them, smoothing each page carefully. They talked only a little, but before leaving, Alawan said something gentle. "Wherever you go," she said, "be kind. The world feels heavy for many people." Celine carried those words like a quiet promise. Time moved on, until one evening when the sky turned the color of old roses, Alawan wandered into a small tower room she had never noticed before. The air hummed softly. In the corner stood an old spinning wheel, forgotten and glowing faintly. As she touched the thread, warmth spread through her body. Not fear, not pain, just sleep. She fell gently like a leaf. The curse awakened. Across Lumeria, birds fell silent. Candles flickered. Hearts sank. Alawan did not wake. Days passed. Weeks followed. The kingdom waited in sorrow and hope, unaware that destiny's greatest test had only begun.